My mother-in-law is using a fake persona, and when I realize she's not genuine, I decide to bust her bubble. When days are dark, friends are new, and family? The ones you trust are the very first to abandon you. I recently went through something that felt like a test. Just when things were getting better for me in the romance department, everything disappeared and I was left out in a cloud for the second time. When I met Jordan, I was 39 years old. I had no intention of dating or getting married. My first marriage had been when I was young, and it ended pretty early. I have a son, but we haven't spoken in years, because his dad is isolating him from me. I went through my fair share of heartbreak until I decided to settle for loving myself. Soon, I didn't need to be in a relationship to be happy. That was until I met Jordan, a pilot at an international airline. He was a customer at the store I worked at, and he dropped his wallet while in the store, and I chased after him. To no avail. By the time I was outside, he was already gone. I did what little research I could from the contents, finding a shipping address for the wallet. Several months later, I got a call from the man who had dropped his wallet, and he was thanking me. He said he'd been out of the country for months and had resigned to the fact that he would never see that wallet again. He was pretty charming and asked me to take him out as a way of thanking. One thing led to another, and I guess we started dating. He was my first boyfriend in 5 years. He was kind, intelligent, and loved his mother. I met his mom, and she was a nice person. Jordan was 47, but wanted to retire and settle down. After many years on the air, he said that his past relationship did not last because of the job that he did. He proposed to me within 3 months of dating, and we were to marry in a year. His whole plan was to retire in a few years, then we would be able to start a new life. Our families were infirm that we were engaged, which was when the family suggested that I should stay with his mom while engaged. The reason was that his mom and I were in 2 different cities, and it would complicate things for him when he wanted to travel. I took a leap of faith and went to stay with a total stranger as we planned the wedding. I got to see him for up to 10 days each month, so it wasn't that bad. The wedding preparations were going well. His mom and I had a very similar style, so we did not clash concerning that. As the months would go by, I grew closer to her and disclosed to her about my past. I trusted her than my own friends. She was always willing and able to listen. We were both going through the same thing and having the person that we love in the air. I remember when he told me that he was considering having his very last flight, then he would retire. He would still fly occasionally, but the plan was for us to start a sportswear shop in our town. Then maybe, travel a little bit in the world. Before he left, he told me that he had given his mom a check. That check was for me to spend on anything wedding related, as well as start looking for a place for us to stay. When he told me the amount of money, I could tell that it was way too much, but he said he wanted the best for us. So, he left but told me that if anything happened to him, the check was for me and to take care of myself. I wondered why he would say such a weird thing, but I suspected that he would be traveling on a dangerous terrain or something, but I could not bring myself to think of that. When he left, I prayed for his safe return and left him hundreds of messages he would get to read once he landed. He landed all right and was to stay there for 5 days before he had to return. We spoke every single day, and I sent him pictures of the venue, cake, food, which he told me to make the way that I wanted, and he trusted me. The night of his return, I dreamt of a storm with thunder. When I woke up, I was fearful and sweating, so I went to my mother-in-law's room. She told me that she'd not been able to sleep as well. We had some milk and then both went to bed. The next morning, I was informed that my husband's flight had been shot down as it was flying through a war-ridden territory. It didn't make sense. Why would the airline make him fly over an unsafe area? I found out more info, and the casualty list was never ending. The part of the plane which had sunk into the ocean and most people had been lost to sea. There was no trace of him and his co-pilot. We were called and tried to identify people who might have been him, even though the captain's uniform's pretty obvious, right? But I did everything within my power to hold on to the chance that maybe, just maybe, he could be out there. Even if he was no more, I needed to see him and confirm. I could not imagine him at sea, lost to me forever. I was numb, cold, and not thinking logically. Every time tears threatened to fall, I saw his mom crying, and I told myself to be strong for him. In the end, we were told that despite all efforts to recover him and the missing people, there was nothing more to be done. They were declared dead. But it was like the world had no meaning to me anymore. There was no body, so how could he be dead? His mom told me that I had to accept it, heal and mourn, but I still saw in my dreams. Still woke up from the nightmares in the middle of the night in the sweat. I refused all food and could only stomach porridge. Any chance that I had, I spent on the web trying to find someone, a recovery service that would maybe look for him. His mom and I both lost someone precious to me. We were supposed to be each other's pillar of strength, but the day after his memorial service, I woke up to find her in her room, packing up my clothings. I asked what was going on, and she told me that I had to leave. Her son had passed away. We were not married, so there was nothing I was staying here for. Her voice was cold, and her once warm gaze was icy. I asked how she could do that to me, but she told me that I was old enough to take care of myself, and that I had to go back to my life. So, with a heavy heart, I left. I did not have a proper job or a place to stay, and my friends could not help me. I exhausted all my savings trying to find him. Every night I would dream of him. I could not afford to go for counseling, but I knew it was bad for me to keep on feeling that way. But just then, I remembered when he told me before he went, the check that he wrote to me was mine if he did not come back, and I wonder if he knew that it was going to be his last flight. I contacted his mom, but she blocked me on every platform. When I finally got a hold of her, she had changed addresses. So I visit her, and stunned by the mansion and cars she possessed, maybe his insurance paid out, but I could not claim it because I wasn't his spouse yet. She agreed to see me, but did not look pleased by my presence. I told her about the last conversation I had with him before he left and requested the check. She quietly observed me, and then she started laughing, a cold laugh, as if she could not believe how I could dare ask her for such a thing. She told me that she had known I was a gold digger all along. She said that she took care of her son so that he would grow up and be a successful pilot. I could not come from nowhere and claim that he was hers by right. She told me that if I wanted money, then I should sell the engagement ring and get out of her hair. She told me that my life was over, and from now on I was trying to cling on to a dead man because I had nothing else going for me. Wow. To add salt to the wound, she kicked me out like a dog and told me never to return. That was when I knew that she had used the check to buy herself a house despite what his true last wishes were. I didn't even try to look for his last will and find out if I was there. I didn't want it to be about the money. I loved him still. I had thought that the money would help me make our dream come true, but it was not fated, I guess. I did not sell the ring despite its values. I kept it on my finger. I don't know how long I planned to keep it in my hand. I went back to stay with my mom, though I could not stay for long. I looked for a job and decided to stop looking for him. Accepted that I had lost my love, though the dreams did not stop. Dreams about our wedding and future tormented me all night. I learned to live with them. Just when I thought I was going to wallow in that darkness for the rest of my life, I got a phone call. It was from someone who worked at his airline. He said that someone was on the phone for me, and I said he could put him through, thinking they found Jordan's body. Instead, I heard Jordan's voice for the first time in months, and I dropped the call and breathed heavily. Then I called again after confirming that I wasn't dreaming. He was alive in a foreign hospital with major injuries, but alive. He had just woken up, and the first person he wanted to talk to was me. I spoke to him for over 30 minutes, which felt like 3. I had so many questions, but he was still recovering. Jordan suffered an injury to his left leg, which had to be amputated. He had nearly died, but had been saved by some people who had been going for a swim. He was in a hospital in a coma for months. No one knew his name or where he came from, but he had woken up a few days before. Within a short time, he was back home. It was a miracle, really, and also the first time I saw his mom since the stunt she pulled. I didn't say anything and gave him time to recover, which he did. Only when he was able and well did I tell him everything that happened after he was gone. He told me that soon as he woke up, he called his mom with the little strength that he had. He asked her to get me on the phone, but she gave excuses. She was scared that I would expose her. I guess she didn't count on him waking up from the dead, did she? I told him everything that she's done to me, not leaving out any details. He said she knew that the money was mine, but still chose to be selfish. He was disappointed in her, but said that he'd had enough. She'd also just always been like this, helped herself to his money, and he did not mind the way she treated me. But when he told us to take care of each other, that's the last straw. When he had recovered, we showed up at her house. He told her, "Nice place," and then she started to lie through her teeth. She said that I had given her the check to spend as she wanted. I told him that she was lying and that she should provide proof. Jordan asked why she called his lawyer about his only will an hour after he was declared dead. She had nothing to say to that. She said that I was poisoning her against him, and then she stooped really low. I once told her stuff about me that not even my close friends knew, and she decided to use that as ammunition to make me look bad in front of him. He merely shook his head as he launched into a tale of how much of a bad person I was. Jordan already knew all that stuff. I told him before we were even dating. I have a past, just like everybody, and so does he. In the beginning, I told him all this bad stuff about me just in case he wanted to back out before we dove too deep. He accepted me with all the flaws and told her that she has 24 hours to find another living arrangement. She tried to pull the waterworks and say the grief made her do it, but he was not having it at all. It seems that there was more to the story than I knew. She had been making it difficult for him to find happiness for so many years because she wanted him to only provide for her. But now she had just shown just how money hungry she was. She did not put in the effort to look for his body when he passed away. She just simply accepted it, as it was so that she would get a quick payout. I got horrified when I think of how close we used to be and how much I trusted her. I'd probably not have found out until she truly sank her claws into me. She had been showing off with the house and car that she bought with the money that was for our future, but he sold that house. It was not that hard to prove that she had used his money to buy the home, so now she's back in her own house and he's cut her off. She's not stopped calling and attempting to fix things with us 24/7. I did suggest that maybe he should hear her out, but when I say her name, his eyes get filled with pain and anger. I think what really makes it so hard for him to forgive her is that she knew he was alive 3 days before I did. He had begged her to get me on the phone, and she told him stories and then stopped picking up his calls. He'd asked her to settle his bill at the hospital, but she never did get back to him, since he did not have access to his money. I finally sold the ring so that we could settle that hospital debt and get him right away on a flight back home. All of this finally made sense once she was exposed. Everyone found out what she's done, and the entire family cut entire ties with her. Some are just sucking up, then there are those that are supportive. Some of those people that I've asked for a place to stay for just one night after she kicked me out, and they refused it. Now they're pretending as if they were on my side all along, just because they wanted to be invited to the wedding. At least now he's seen her true colors and cut her off completely. He needs to be surrounded by non-toxic people as he heals from the nightmares of this flight. Because of that, we've postponed the wedding for the next year. We feel that we need to resolve a lot of stuff before we tie the knot. Well, we did get new engagement rings. His rings ended up in the ocean, all the way down deep, deep, deep. Well, I'd sold mine to help him out, and we've moved in together. He is attending weekly physiotherapy for his lost leg, and we're both attending therapy to deal with the trauma. At least now that he's back, I don't have those dreams anymore. Sometimes I would dream that I was the one who was drowning and lost at sea. We're now focusing on getting better physically and emotionally, so we can finally start this thing called life together. This is another one of those stories that just absolutely blows my mind. I don't know if it's because I just got off an airplane or what, but just reading this was freaking me out. Imagine being trapped in some hospital in a foreign land and your leg is gone, needs amputation or was amputated. You have no way to get to your money, you have no way to contact the love of your life, and the one person that you can trust, your own mother, betrays you so she can live in a mansion. Guys, this story was absolutely insane. I would love to know your thoughts on it. Drop down your comments, or maybe if you have a mother-in-law or father-in-law that is anywhere close to as evil as this person, let's hear about it. If you want to share your experience, drop it in the comments, guys. Thank you again. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more daily videos, and I'll see you in the next one.